Namaste, beloveds. This is Mother with Wisdom, and it's Memorial Day, and I have a very interesting type of information to share with you. Some of it is going to be reshared, but it's coming up, it's welling up, and there's a full flower moon, and so I am really just my cup is overflowing. I'll put it that way. And the need to share is really intense right now. So let me just get to it, beloveds, okay? And excuse me if you see me fidgeting or doing this or doing that. As you can see, this eyelash here is droopy as it want to be, and I'm just tired of it, so it is what it is. Okay, I'm going to start with some things I wrote a while ago. This one is called War Equals Spirituality Expanding. Collective Conscious Awareness Prayer. 2, Explain Raw Spirituality Expanding. 3, Observation of Cain's Children. 4, the Lord's Prayer as an Invocation. 5, the Empowerment of Self-Consciousness. 6, the Individual and the Collective Spirit Force. 7, Discernment over Judgment of Existing. And the number 7 has been coming up a lot, beloveds. I have been on Facebook a lot with hashtag number 7, hashtag 7. So there's a lot, and this 7 on this paper is discernment over judgment of existing. Kind of reverberates. Number 8, choosing unconditional love over conditional love from a narcissistic bullying perspective. 9, beginning to consciously envision your raw spirituality expanding inside, outside, above, and below all directions, radiating unconditional love like a sun. Like a sun. 10, preparing the spiritual consciousness of the earth and all her beings, seen and unseen, beyond space and time, for the expansion of raw spirituality. 11, spiritual agricultural architecture from the indigenous point of view. Seeding the earth with raw spirituality so that its expansion can be observed with the wisdom of discernment from the cultivation and maturation of grace. Now, I want you to understand raw spirituality expanding is how you engage in spiritual warfare that's taking place right now. And raw is war spelled backwards. And this is really deconstructing war through these 11 principles, these 11 things. One being the collective conscious awareness prayer. And these things are on another video. They're also on my Facebook page. They're also on my Blog Talk Radio show. So I'm not going to keep just rehashing these particular things, but I'm going to keep going, okay? Because we've got a lot to get into. When inward tenderness finds the secret hurt, pain itself will crack the rock, and let the soul emerge. That is from Melvina Rumi. And this is something that I wrote again a while back. And it too is in green for some reason. And green is just the color today. So it is the heart chakra. It is the center of the flow, so to speak. So here we go. Cosmic alchemy, essence divine. In this temple of my familiar, parts speak out about the present state of my affairs. I sit back and I listen. Sophia reminds me, handle with care. One by one, they march forth, head held high, descending from above, yet anchored to the sky. As they take the witness stand, each with a document held in the right hand, swearing upon mystical parchment, scribed in ancestral genetic DNA codes, time merges as linear definitions erode. In languages, dialects, and vernaculars, one and all do they speak, giving musical notes to the weak. Some quiet, some loud, some ghetto, some elegant sophistication, some wise, some emitting such frequencies I feel my vibration rise. Some foolish, some whine, bitch and moan. Others offer solutions and restitutions, as others take this opportunity to give up the ghost, while most point their fingers, blaming all on the host. I am reminded how we began cosmic alchemy, essence divine, a gazillion bees, one collective mind. Express me the directive, a mustard seed out of a molehill blind. I, the original mountain that must be scaled and climbed. And beloveds, this is so powerful because just yesterday I woke up with needing to post the earthly yonis, the earthly vulvas of the mountains, and to speak deeply of the earthly sacred aspects of the women's reproductive organs and procedures and postures and presence. And so a lot of this is coming up, and I'm just going where I'm led. So let's keep going. All of that is on my Facebook page, Valerie Ames, Mother with Wisdom. Valerie Ames Middlebrook, Mother with Wisdom. Know thyself, the sacred mantra. Positive and negative, the ultimate divide. Out of fear rose hate. Out of love rose hope, the primary Pandora's box. All needed to broaden the scope. In this temple of my familiar, parts speak out about the present state of my affairs. I sit back and listen. Sophia reminds me, handle with care. One by one, they march forth, head held high, descending from above, yet anchored to the sky. As they take the witness stand, each with a document held in the right hand, swearing upon mystical parchment, scribed in ancestral genetic DNA codes, time merges as linear definitions erode. The circle completes itself. Justice is not blind. The lesson is whole. It can only be learned with a universal mind. Energy is the essence. One mind is the sphere. Spiritual sight is restored to all who arrive and meet up here. And this was written in 2012. And there's a, don't you think a maid who lives in the midst of a tree sounds a lot like the spirit of a tree, who in other contexts might be called, and it stops there. But, beloveds, that's just so powerful. The next part that I'm going to read was entitled $6 Million Woman. And I come from the generation that watched a TV show called The $6 Million Man and The $6 Million Woman. And it was about a man and a woman being rebuilt with robotic limbs that gave them super strength, super speed, and other super agility and super abilities. And so, $6 Million Woman, here we go. Again, keep in mind and connect all the dots that have been given regarding sacred divine feminine anatomy being portrayed in stone as mountains and crevices and womb caves. Okay? It's very important right now in this particular space to understand what is holding you, what is capable of holding you. So let's get into it. $6 Million Woman, building a government for the people, governed by the will of the people, not the politicians or corporations. How can a few individuals whose own political personal bottom line speak for their community as a trusted voice of reason? Wisdom always says, take it to the streets and shout from the marketplaces. The people will hear you. They will see you. And their voices can now be listened to. Instead of trying to convince two representatives of two states, go to those states that employ the two representatives. Make your case to the entire community of that statehood, whom it will affect, because the things that the politicians are proposing are not the programs, jobs, or benefits that are going to affect the politicians' families, financial or medical experiences, but they are going to affect the communities. This is why you must become the eye of the community. You must become a watcher. You must watch. You must observe. Okay? It's not just from a standpoint of judgment. It's from a standpoint of building back better. Okay? Observing what has come. Understanding and gathering what has worked and what has not worked in order to give birth to something better, in order to create something better, in order to imagine something better. Okay? You have to watch. You have to listen. You have to be present. You have to use your senses. And if this is not your forte, then you find those in the community who have the patience, the stamina, the endurance, and the capability of maintaining calm surveillance without judging, without jumping in, without trying to fix, but only to glean and gather the information and bring it back. So basically, you're spying on your community. It's just like in the time of Moses, when Joshua was sent out to look at the lands, and he noticed that there were giants there. And some people that were sent to watch, to spy, to see, and to report back, came back with, oh, we ain't going to be able to do that. We ain't going to be able to get around them, get over them. They're giants. They're this, that, and the other, and it's bad. Or they just straight out lied and said, no, that's not the way. And then there was Joshua, who his party brought back the giant fruits and everything. And this is a land rich with milk and honey. And it is occupied. But we are capable. We are the chosen ones. This is what is being given to us. And so we need to see how we need to obtain, how we need to gain our inheritance. Because nothing is just given to you, beloveds. And if that's what you're expecting, you're holding on to a pipe dream. You're holding on to something that's not a reality. Okay? You are a spirit, you incarnated as a spiritual being. You are given the breath of life. You are here with great purpose, great spiritual purpose. And during the spiritual purpose, you will be stripping away your personalities. You will be watching yourself. You will be evaluating your own narcissistic tendencies. Okay? And you will be mastering yourself and your higher virtues for your higher calling. And it is you who is going to be the architect of this heaven upon earth. And so you must know how to turn the ground, till the ground, to create. Okay? And in order to create, sometimes you have to destroy the surface, or remove the weeds from the roots. Okay. Build back better. Living walls, membranes, womb shed, period. This is how the temple is built. Merkaba is the way in which the temple is transported. And I'm going to add on here, transformed. Okay? Transported, transformed. Structure and infrastructure determines the soundness / wisdom / integrity of your ability to build. Expand conscious awareness. The backbone, spine, is the wisdom of the divine feminine. When you weaken her, it, which is the body, cannot stand, cannot ascend, stand, or rise. And the thighs, the spiritual meaning, physical, metaphysical meaning of the feminine thighs came up on my Facebook page. So the feminine anatomy, the feminine body, the feminine structure, the feminine design is really coming up this flower moon. It is not coincidence. It is very particular. It is very on point. And again, this was called the $6 Million Woman. And I'm just going to keep moving on. The Ancient of Days, the stone, the builders refused. Third rock from the sun, I am the stone that the builders refused. I am the prayer that is spoken from the children of my vitality. Thy kingdom comes on earth as it is in the heavens. The ignorant feudal polarity of war. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. War is a conscious choice, forced into a timeline by the powers and principalities. The Ancient of Days speak as one of the observers of time. 24 hours a day in human sight, numbers beyond count or measure in spiritual wisdom. She existed before the Sumerian Tiamat. She existed before the Milky Way galaxy. When I ask her to define herself, she says, I am conscious, subconscious, and unconscious, infinite space. I am that infinite feminine womb. I am the receiver of all that is communicated, i.e., received, transmitted, transformed, and transmuted. I am the foundation on which all is built. I am the void that creation believes logically that it can fill with manifestations of its own image and energy projections and reflections of universe. One verse, one song. I have had many names. There are many words to describe my presence and my essence. None do me full justice, because I am still beyond your expanding conscious awareness as a sentient being. Your mother, as your maker, as she who gave birth to all without the penetration of logic conception, but through the osmosis and symbiosis of instinct and intuition and the wisdom to multiply. Architecture and structure take place inside of what? Space/womb. The foundation is built up on what? Earth. The mother. She who holds you up. She who with unconditional love supports all, no matter frequency, spectrum, motives, right or wrong, or hierarchy of spiritual, earthly, corrupted values. Why? Because all is one, and it will work itself out by design, not logic, not time, but the original design, intent, instinct, intuition. Many have said, do not put your trust in men, but have faith in your original purpose of existing, even if parts of it seem to be buried in your subconscious and unconscious. It is still memory. It is stored wealth. It is your sovereign inheritance. No thief can take it from you, not even death. That is the whole point of resurrection, rebirth, and reincarnation. The attack upon the divine feminine is an attack upon the unlimited potential of space. This is the big picture. And your spiritual observation and witness of it is the justice that brings it forward and puts it, that activates it inside your consciousness as the domino effect or the butterfly effect. Okay? Beyond conspiracies, beyond dogma, beyond many of the traditional teachings that have been changed and transformed in order to push forward the narrative that this age that is ending, have been contracted to, have been bound to, have been sold into, okay, into the sin, the missing the mark, the babbling of knowledge, okay? So, now we're getting ready to bring everything full center. Again, that heart, that green. Let me read the title and then I'll go into a little bit of definition of it, okay? The Donald and the Diddy, kind of nice. The Donald and the Diddy, kind of nice. Bucking the system. So, the main characters that we're going to focus on is Donald Trump and Sean Puff Daddy Diddy Combs. Okay? And their brand, their archetype, structured niceness. Okay? And bucking the system and understanding to your core what that means spiritually, not just physically, to be broken, okay? To be busted open, okay? To be violated. And with this being YouTube, I'm going to kind of tone some of the language down a little bit because it is for a more mature audience, but I don't want it to be removed. So I'll try to keep things in an acceptable language. Okay? So this is what I wrote, beloveds. I'm looking at so much of what is going on, and in order to do that, I'm at the state now where I'm also understanding all that has been buried and put in my subconscious, everything that has built my subconscious, everything that is buried within my subconscious, okay? And that is all portrayed, that is all explained by these two men, one white, one black. One came from riches, one came from the ghetto, from poverty. The extreme differences in their environments and economics and surroundings and what they had to choose from. But also at the same time, the similarities that were both there. Okay? Spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, their thoughts and their feelings, how their archetypes were chosen for them to walk in the footprints of, that they wanted to replicate or reproduce or multiply. Okay? So let me just start reading, and I'll break it down as I go. Current events have me observing the angles being shown. The angles, Donald Trump and Diddy are angles, okay? While also viewing the hidden angles and degrees of sleight of hand, meaning they are what is out front and can be seen, but behind them, or what is supporting them, or what is putting them in the front and is shadowing behind them, is the unseen. But you cannot just see one without seeing the other. You need to be able to observe both. You need to recognize the presence of both when you see them. And you need to understand you cannot see one without the other. Okay? And the sleight of hand comes in because they only want you to see the puppets, the Diddy and the Donald. They don't want you to see the hand that's moving the strings or pulling the strings or yanking the strings and making them talk and dance and act the way they act and say the things they say and do the things they do. Okay, let me keep going. In my current chosen state of spiritual conscious awareness, witnessing things in their fullness is a must in order to glean the truth and expand my current frequency and spectrum of spiritual consciousness. One thing for sure, you may not see everything at once, at one glance, but if you keep observing it, the patterns become very clear, as the devil is indeed in the details of producing and reproducing. Please connect where the stone womb caves, the yoni, the vulva, the divine feminine is in the rock, okay? And the rock, the stone that the builders refused, okay? The lips, the sacred lips. Which is the very first commandment, to be fruitful and multiply, is it not? Please don't take what I'm about to share as a personal attack against you. This sharing is about personality traits that have been seeded, planted within you for the reason to make you less than capable of forming and giving birth to your own spiritual guidance navigation system. Instead, you rely on the brainwashing tendencies of the word nice and be nice. You are bonded, you are attached to that word and what it means to you, and how it looks to you, and how it responds to you, and what it's responsible and accountable for you. As taught to you on how to behave, to act, to react, to respond, no matter what the truth is, being nice will make it better in the long run, right? Overthinking begins with the self-questioning of, are you being nice enough? Are they being nice enough to you? This is how you set yourself up with expectations. What could you or they have said or done to be nicer in order to have a better outcome so that you can fit in, assimilate, blend in with the nice herd, who the nice men are going to force over the nice cliff so that they can have a nice fall, because in some shape, form, or fashion, they are going to profit from it, so they can afford putting, spending, casting the vast net of niceness for something in return. I have observed parents chastising, punishing, spanking, abusing their children. I have received this myself growing up, because the child was not living up to their standard or society's high price of niceness. They weren't letting people, places, and things use them, take advantage of them, lead them by the nose. They were actually thinking for themselves. They actually thought for 1 minute that they could trust their own gut, their own instinct, their own intuition, their own point of view, outside of their boundaries or your boundaries of being nice first and foremost. That it was okay for them to consider their authentic self as worthy of first place importance and relevance. I believe the very first instance of being nice was established by the cunning serpent in the sacred garden of Eden. You see, the serpent, was being nice to Eve when it sought to enlighten her, and Eve was being nice to the serpent when she continued to listen, to hold, carry, and contemplate what the snake had seeded her with. His thoughts, his feelings, its thoughts, its feelings, its niceness, because of her suffering from having all the other trees of the garden, but being kept from this one particular one. And Eve's heart longed for its fruit, the one she was forbidden. She wanted to receive what it offered. The snake read her like a child's fairy tale storybook character and seduced her with its niceness. Its consideration for her thoughts and feelings, which were unlike the control of the Creator, which he made clear to point out to her about the Creator, lying to her so that she would remain his slave / servant / toy. This creature appeared out of nowhere, out of the kindness of its heart, to help her, to be nice to her, so she could only follow suit and be nice to him by listening and entertaining his nice words, thoughts, and feelings given on her behalf. She was too nice to think, who sent you and what do you want? Because Niceness has a certain charm, a certain subtle seduction, a certain synergy, a hypnotic impulse that automatically shuts down your natural instincts and tuitions, your automatic reactions. Niceness overrides and shuts down these automatic electrical impulses of spiritual conscious awareness that question the right or wrong, bypassing it, going straight to the logic of your heart and mind's groomed programming response. To not be cautious, to relax, to give in, because there is no danger to your body, thoughts, feelings, and spirit self. There is only niceness. Funny how the most cautious beast of the field was used and seduced this way itself by a higher spiritual, consciously aware entity, of whom we will go into much detail a bit later on in this humbly transcribed message of spiritual clarity. Reach through the observation of just being still. That higher entity watched the snake to observe that it was the most cunning of all creatures. So it was the best puppet to use to speak to Eve. It was the best representation, okay, for his agenda, for his niceness. The snake reached the observation of just being still, allowing thoughts and feelings, opinions and judgments to be present, but not attaching to any single one of them in order to keep the personality, my personality deductions to myself, and allow myself to view and learn and lean into it from a more higher state of expanding my spiritual conscious awareness. By observing the repetitions of patterns, let me go back for a minute, okay? Funny how the most cautious beast of the field was used and seduced this way itself by a higher spiritual conscious aware entity, of whom we will go into much detail a bit later on in this humbly transcribed message of spiritual clarity. Reach through the observation of just being still. Okay, we're speaking about me now, or the vessel of me, the receiver, allowing thoughts, feelings, opinions, and judgments to be present, but not attaching to any single one of them in order to keep my personality, my personal deductions, my personal judgments, and allow myself to view and lean into it from a more higher state of expanding my spiritual conscious awareness. That's a choice. By observing the repetitions, patterns, signs, symbols, colors, sounds, words, ways, and human logic and knowledge used over all the times of civilizations, cycles and seasons of immersion into a cultivated society as a culture of the entire species of existence, seen and unseen, known and hidden from the public. Let us examine the tea leaves, shall we? Let's inspect the niceness factor of our ingredients. The magnificent blend of today's tea leaves, the Donald John Trump and the Sean P. Diddy Combs, bucking the system variety, cultivated, cultured, cured in mankind's continuity, to extend the deeply well-rooted leaves and limbs, seasons and flavorings of misogynistic, sadomasochistic, patriarchal matrix system in order to dominate the earthly domain, in order to create the mirrors opposite of what The original design and purpose was to create another heaven on earth, to cultivate it through the higher frequencies and spectrums of the highest values of unconditional love, and multiply it all over the earth until it spread beyond time and space, pristine and whole and holy. What has this worldly system based and founded upon the nice, lower fleshly spiritual frequencies and spectrums of the underworlds of hell and death, produced and reproduced in its own nice image, that it needs to maintain, to continue to put itself first in order for its spiritual works against the flesh to keep surviving by the grace of death. Remember the nice words spoken. You surely will not die, but instead of death, you will be just like the Creator, knowing good and evil. And I'm going to take a moment just to break all that down, beloveds. I want you to see the polarities once again. And I want you to see the polarities and the similarities in Donald Trump and in Diddy, okay? I want you to understand the system, the matrix system, the archetype, the architect, the architecture, the structure of the patriarchy itself, okay? And that it came from this creature, this entity. It is its essence. It is its love child, okay? It is its world. And it influences the earth realm through man, who identifies it as himself, as his personality, okay, as his truth, as his Lord and Master, to whom he must bow and serve and worship, okay? I want you to understand and understand all of that, to grasp it, grasp a hold of it, wrestle with it, break it down, take it apart, and put it back together in a way that helps you consume it, okay? Because from it, you'll gain the wisdom. From the stories, from the devil in the details, you'll gather the seeds that will give you the fruits of wisdom that you need, spiritual wisdom that you need, okay? In order not just to nourish you, but the next 7 generations, okay? That is what this is. That is what the purpose of this is. It is not just for this moment. It is for the next 7 generations to be able to reflect upon, to be able to look at the structure, the infrastructure, and to build it back better. Let me keep going. One of the things that in this matrix system that allows and empowers and holds space for and anoints as the gatekeepers a Donald Trump and a Diddy, okay, is the bloodlines from which they spring. In those bloodlines is the genetic memories, the genetic material, as well as the spiritual consciousness itself that seeds this new being that incarnated. Okay? With a conscious, subconscious, and unconscious capability. And it is up to that individual to journey through what has been given, to turn it over, to till it, to see what grows, and to understand if what grows is poisonous or what grows is nutritious, and to make a choice of which it chooses to grow and which it chooses to consume. And to know that the choice that you make is going to have a boomerang effect. It's going to have a karmic effect. What you put out is going to come back to you. And it's going to come through your bloodline. Okay? So, understand that the way to something, to the truth of something, is to go through it. Okay? Not over it, not around it, not under it, but to go through it. And to go through something, that means you have to bear witness to it from every aspect, from every angle. You have to see all the opposing views of it, all the situations, all the circumstances, all the positive, all the negative, and all the neutral. When you do this, you begin to see that there are, again, as we read earlier, there are patterns that emerge. These patterns are systems. These systems are used as blueprints for smaller industries, corporations, organizations, programs, possibilities, okay? And they all are seeded through the bloodline that is building. And the bloodline that is building from the patriarchal stone, which is logic, which has nothing to do with wisdom and intuition. It is only based upon the replication and patterns of mathematics, not the intuition, not the spirit, not the inner workings, not the intuitive workings. Okay? And so it is incomplete. It is unholy because it is not whole. And what it builds is a Tower of Babel. And that Tower of Babel is its only way of communicating. It's its only way, its only knowledge, its only way of communicating. And in its way of communicating, not everybody speaks the same language. Just like the word nice. The word nice can mean one thing to you and mean an entirely different thing to me. based upon my genetic memories, based upon my life experiences. Nice may be something that has shown me it's a trick, it's a trap. Each and every time, that has been my experience. That has been my pattern. That is the pattern that is established. When you see someone being overtly nice, going out their way to be nice to you in this man's world, 9 times out of 10, it is for a personal agenda. That is why my reaction is automatically, what do you want and who sent you? Now, there are other beings who have not grown up in the circumstances, situations that I have. They have not experienced the things that I have. And niceness to them is the only way of life that they know. It is one of innocence and sweetness and acceptance and trust. And it's one of freedom. And that is their reality. That is not everyone's reality, beloveds. So you cannot generalize what niceness is, how niceness acts, and how you should react to niceness. Because we're going to see it differently. We're going to react differently. Does it make my actions or reactions wrong and yours right? No. We are unique individuals. We were given the ability to think and reason for ourselves, to work it out for ourselves, to decipher, to disseminate, to discern the wisdom of it all. All words, always. And that is what we must do. And in doing that, we have a very public stage right now. We're in a very particular time frame called the end. One age is ending and another one is on its way. And everything in the old age has to be transformed. It cannot go into the new age. It has to be reborn, rethought, reimagined, restructured before it can. Hold on just a second and let me put that light back on. Hold on. Okay, beloveds, let's keep going. Right now we're at a very specific time where we're all have access to a very specific stage, okay, world global stage. And on this world global stage, the archetypes of the patriarchy are front and center, okay? The actors, the characters, the roles, the philosophies, the religions, the ways of all the different society, S-E-C-T-S, cults, sections, societies, hidden, occult, whatever. Whatever. It's unveiled. It's naked. And it's right in front of you on the stage right now, playing out its demise. This is its last scene. It's on its last leg. Okay? And what is playing out is your ability to recognize yourself as a spiritual being rather than a personality. You are a spiritual being of choice, okay? Rather than just a groomed, programmed personality put in place, a puppet. But you're looking at those who have been gatekeepers and puppet makers and puppet masters and puppets themselves, prancing around on this global stage, exposing themselves. Okay? What are they exposing? They're exposing their patriarchal systems. They're exposing their patriarchal organizations. They're exposing their patriarchal matrix system. Okay? And let's see here. Okay, sidetracked. Okay, leave it alone. They're showing themselves to you. And you need to be in a position to understand what you're observing, what you're being put in a position to observe. Okay? What you're being given, what is being revealed to you as revelations of the time that you're in and of the time period that you're getting ready to go into. Okay? This is very serious. It is not silly time and games. We've had aeons of that. Okay? The eating, drinking, getting married, so forth and so on, and then the flood comes and you're swept away. All because you didn't think it was serious. You didn't think it was spiritually serious enough for you to give it your attention, for you to focus upon it, for you to observe, for you to look into it, beloveds, for yourselves, for you to gain your own, this is getting on my nerves, for you to gain your own inner standing, for you to gain your own wisdom, so that you can mother your own matters, okay? So that you don't have these paternal men turning into the mother and mothering you through false pretenses when it is not in their nature, not in their natural natures. Okay? They will not stay in their place as the divine masculine. They want to occupy the divine masculine and the divine feminine and the divine child. They want to just take over completely. Okay? That is where we are as a communicative species of earth beings, dealing with all the things that we're dealing with, all the wars of the powers and principalities of the spiritual warfare, born and reborn and constantly. Everything is here for you to pay attention to now. We are living in a time of immersion into information. If there is something you want to know, the only thing stopping you from knowing it is you. So you can't, when the day of judgment comes, say, oh, I was uneducated, or didn't nobody tell me, or I didn't know how to do that, or it's not my fault. Gifts are giving. Okay? There is an expectation. You are told to multiply your gifts. Okay? Let me keep going. So, these individuals, this Diddy and this Donald, okay? The worldly system. The worldly system is, in the Bible, it's called a beast. Okay? And there are different kinds of beasts, meaning there are different aspects of the world systems. There's an entertainment system, there's an education system, there is a, what else? Education, entertainment, corporate industries, systems. They're all kind of races. They're cultural systems, traditional systems. There are all kind of systems that are in place. And one of the things that Jesus said in the Bible was he came to tear those things down. That is how he's going to fulfill the prophecies. He's going to tear what those patriarchal men built in God's name down. That is why the Holy Spirit is able to be free-flowing. After his resurrection, as a comforter, to help you mother your matters, as a protector, to help you expand your spiritual conscious, unconscious, and subconscious states, stores, your ability to hold wisdom. She is the mother of wisdom. She seeds you with her wisdom. She helps you feed off of it. She helps you to nourish yourself through it. She's not going to give you artificial intelligence and tell you that your design is no good. You're flawed. And you'll never be as good as what you can make with your own hands. Okay. Okay, beloveds, let me get back to a couple more things here. What has this worldly system, based and founded upon the nice, lower fleshly spiritual frequencies, the works of the flesh, and spectrums of the underworlds of hell and death? Hell and death is the separation from the light, from the unconditional love of the Great Spirit. It is not having direct access to the Holy Spirit, to the Holy Mother, to her wisdom, to her grace, to her charity, to her wisdom, to her discernment. So you are bereft and you are limited and you are in the dark. And that is you are unconscious. You are dead. That is mankind's common grave. That is hell. Hell is not Gehenna. Gehenna is the second death, the lake of fire, where the eternal beings, once they have been judged, will be interred. Okay? And all of those that chose that route, that way, that darkness. Okay? They chose fear over unconditional love. And so, beloveds, remember what the snake said to Eve, what the serpent said, that you will surely not die if you eat, but you will have the knowledge of good and evil. And you will be just like the Creator. Do you see how the words using and chosen, the context, the way of communicating with Eve about this subject was developed as a tactic? And it was set up to appear nice, to benefit her, to help her, to give her something that her heart desired, because her energy was easily read. The desire for the fruit was very recognizable to the cunning serpent. And the cunning serpent knew that it would mean instant death. That instant death was the removal from the Eden paradise realm, where they were, how can I say, spirit. They were learning to expand and accept and to manifest and interact with the Holy Spirit. Okay? But first they were dealing with the Great Spirit. So the aspect of the Holy Spirit had not fully been presented to them. They were not aware. And that was the death that they suffered. They began to die immediately upon being ousted. They immediately had trouble. They immediately suffered. They immediately began to be at war with themselves and not at peace. Let's keep going. Can you just for a moment see, picture, imagine a loving Creator, spiritual, conscious, awareness. Excuse me. I need my glasses. It's getting dark or something. It's changing. Can you just for a moment see, picture, imagine a loving creator's spiritual conscious awareness wanting to create something perfect in its own image, out of its own unconditional love, yet knowing the ultimate polarities in the cosmic laws of magnetism, which is the law of attraction itself, in as far as you reap what you sow, as a driving force, weaving everything together as one collective of expressed, released, freed, individual, unique spiritual consciousness, complete with the essence of its own awareness as a self, and with the ability to be responsible for its acts as individuals and as a collective, to work in harmony with cosmic existence. I want to break that down, beloveds. I want you to understand who the Great Spirit is, what the Great Spirit is, what the Great Spirit created, and why in the wisdom and discernment of the Great Spirit, everything is working itself out in these many cycles and seasons, because the great dragon, this entity that was the most beautiful creature ever created to serve the Holy Spirit, okay? To be her attendant, to be her support, to be her whatever, okay? Became so jealous and enraged in its heart. It's that green again. In its heart, that it began to hate itself, and it began to project that hate upon the Holy Spirit in such a way that it refused to serve her. That not only did it refuse to serve her, it wanted to take her place. Then, not only did it want to take her place, it wanted to take the Great Spirit's place. Okay? Think of how this AI, this artificial intelligence works. Okay? Nothing is new under the sun, beloveds. Okay? And so, you have all of this, and you have the Great Spirit understanding that this being, this beautiful design, he chose what he chose. It chose what it chose. It's not a male or female, it's both. It, this great dragon, it chose what it chose. It chose to rebel. It chose to oppose the natural creation. It chose to reject the spiritual high position and the spiritual hierarchy of the Great Spirit. It challenged the Great Spirit. And it challenged it with a third of heaven that it had convinced that it was right, and that it had a spiritual case, and that it could win against the Creator. That is that the sin of Adam. That is the sin of Eve. That is the sin of Cain. That is the sin and downfall of man, of human beings as a species. across the globe because we are at war with our spiritual selves. That is what makes it a spiritual war. The warfare pits the narcissistic personality against the unconditionally loving spirit that is spiritually conscious and aware of itself and capable of expanding its consciousness, capable of multiplying the original design. Okay? The serpent, the great dragon, is unable to multiply. He is unable to transform. He is unable to change. And believe me, genetically, he has tried. He has tried to do everything astrally, astronomically, through every system that exists or has existed. He has tried to usurp the Great Spirit and to not meet the end of swallowing his own tail. Okay? But it's a circle. It's set. He set it in motion. You will not die. You will be like God. That lie is what he is going to eat. That is the tail that he is going to eat. He is going to swallow that tail, and it is going to be the end of him. Of it. I keep saying him. That's because so many times we call devil a him. Okay? But there are certain cultures that call the devil a her. And we're really with these pronouns, I'm telling you. But let's keep going. Can you just for a moment see, picture, imagine a loving creator, spiritual conscious awareness, wanting to create something perfect in its own image, out of its own unconditional love? Yet, no, it wanted to multiply itself. It wanted to replicate itself. Not from a narcissistic standpoint, but from a point of watching the exponential, watching the multiplication take place, watching the uniqueness, watching each piece produce another piece, and it still holds the same consciousness and still expands the light, the frequency, and the spectrum of the higher realms of being. Yet knowing the ultimate polarities and the cosmic laws of magnetism, which is the law of attraction itself, and as far as you reap what you sow, as a driving force, weaving everything together as one collective of expressed, released, freed, individual, unique, spiritual consciousness, complete with the essence of its own awareness as a self. That is when you reach super consciousness. That is when you are able to surpass or combine all three states of consciousness, the unconscious, the subconscious, and the conscious. And you are able to go into the super conscious state, which means you are able to access those other states and still be fully present. That is super consciousness, okay? And that is a goal. That is something we shoot for. That is something we aim for. Complete with the essence of its own awareness as a self. That is so powerful. To understand that the only way for you to be complete with your own essence is to remove your personalities, is to remove your genetic baggage, is to remove your attachments to time, space, place, stories, all of that. And with the ability to be responsible for its acts as individuals and as collective to work in harmony with cosmic existence. This third planet known as Earth was created a very, very, very long time ago. In relating it to the human ways of expressing and relating to time, it has had many jumbled together birth, death, rebirth phases and stages. Time is coming up a lot as a subject, as a topic, as a archetype, as a construct, okay, to be examined, and to be examined through celestial spiritual eyes, not just from the human standpoint of cycles and seasons, but from the celestial point of view, okay? And the celestial point of view is actually ages of the spiral, okay? And it revolves around the what we know now as the zodiac constellations, those star formations, and the revolutions around the sun in tandem with all the other planets and with the sun and the moons of all the other planets. This is cosmic. So it is beyond the universe. It is beyond galaxy. It is cosmic. It is all encompassing. And it is time for us to grasp this. It is time for us to mature, to go to the next stage in our spiritual conscious awareness. Okay? And in order to do that, we have become conscious of the subconscious. And now we must go into the subconscious. Okay? This earth is a feminine principled conscious state of existence, meaning we have to understand the lips of wisdom. What is inside, how it works, how putting something in allows something to come out. Okay? This is the feminine principle conscious state of existence, the receiving and the delivering of what was received in a new, transformed, metamorphed, transition state, a raised state of consciousness, an expanded state, a multiplied, a fruitful state. Meaning, she will shed as many earths by cosmic cycles and seasons of life it takes to overcome death, which was introduced to the genetic blueprint by the serpent seeds, freed and released into the gene pool. Meaning, this is where the stories of the space aliens, the Anunnaki, the spirit realm merging with the physical realm and having astral sex and all of these kinds of things, and understanding that we have stories where acts of spiritual conception, spiritual conception has taken place and a spirit child is born, whether that spirit child is holy or unholy, has yet to be has to be determined, will be determined by that child's existence. Okay? But we need to bring from our subconscious that this is a path that has been used by the snake to seed its seed amongst the earth, because it could not attack the woman physically outright. It could not, in Revelations 12, it could not go across the waters. The waters are consciousness, people's consciousness, spirits' consciousness, ancient ones' consciousness. Okay? It could not go across. It could not physically or spiritually cross it. And so it had to infiltrate the daughters of men. Okay, it had to infiltrate earth women. And some of the spirits are so perverse that they pervert the sexual union by sensationalizing different acts, such as sodomy and oral sex and other different things. And for me, I want you to know that I was brought up and those acts, because they imitated what was considered homosexual activities. They were unclean. And so you were not to participate in those kinds of acts. But I also have grown and learned a lot of other things. And it is through our senses that we are to learn, experience, and to explore. And it is always the intent of the heart that matters. Okay? So if you are indulging in fornication just for the sake of sensations, then that's what makes fornication fornication. But if you are indulging in sacred sexuality and commitment and vows and so forth and so on has taken place, regardless of if it's ritualistic or if it's just oral consent and conception between the two of you agreeing, okay? Everything in moderation, where you don't get addicted to certain things and you don't go overboard with them, or you don't think that this act has to be performed on you before you do this, that, or the other. When you bring those kind of dynamics into sacred sexuality, you're polluting it. You're polluting it with personality. Sexuality is free. It is conscious, subconscious, and unconscious, giving and receiving. It is, what's the word, Mama? It is devotion to purpose. It is devotion to purpose. Now, how you go about uniquely being devoted to to that purpose of sacred sexuality, okay, of two becoming one in order to multiply spiritually, fruitage, in order to enjoy that bond, in order to enjoy that bliss, in order to fully come together in the most intimate of ways, fleshly and spiritually, through spiritual sex. Okay? Understand why the astral sex without consent and knowledge and all of this, and understanding what is gained from that astral being indulging. There is an energy exchange. There is an essence exchange. Okay? And you are of such a ignorant state that you don't even realize what you're indulging and encouraging and playing with, okay? And inviting in to you. And I say this from experience. I don't say this because it's something I've read in a book or I've heard a story about. So, all of this is to, again, bring it all back to who? Diddy and Donald. Diddy and Donald are puppets. They are not just puppets of the elite. They are puppets of the great dragon. Okay? And as puppets of the great dragon, they are sworn and indoctrinated into the misogynistic, sadistic crucifixion of the divine feminine. She must be attacked from all angles, in all ways, in all aspects, at all ages. She must be trauma broken. She must be trauma bonded. She must submit. She must bend down and kiss the pinky ring. She must crawl and be a beast. And submit to being used in a beastly manner, in violence, with the promise of, this is how you gain your pleasure. Let me teach you, let me groom you, let me show you. And really, you're teaching her that it is a sexual power play, but for the deviant being, male or female, it is a narcissistic power engagement process. The intention is to dominate. The intention is to drain you. The intention is to break you. The intention is to lessen you. The intention is to shame and humiliate you. To make you feel less than worthy, less than even deserving life, less than even deserving to exist, less than any love, unconditional love, worthy of any unconditional love, grace or hope or mercy, because you've been broken in this fashion. You've been broken in. You've been initiated. You've been introduced to the patriarchy. By their rites, by their ceremonies, by their celebrations, by their laws, by their rules, by their wills. okay, for their own agendas. The earth is a feminine principled conscious state of existence, meaning she will shed as many earths by cosmic cycles and seasons of life it takes to overcome death, meaning just like the lining in the womb that forms, shedding that blood, having that period, those 28 days, that 10, that 1, coming back to that oneness, to that pure state of being able to receive a seed again and try again. That is what the earth has been through many times. We know the farthest back we go is to Samaria and before the flood. We have stories of Samaria, of Lemuria, Mu, Atlantis, all of these different things, and all of these other different ages from different stories, babblings, okay, that came from Babylon, retold, regurgitated, edited and changed when needed in order for who's in control. Just like what Constantine did with Christianity, okay, when he took over. And the elite agreed that it would be a white colonial conquest system of civilizations, and that English would be the common language and thread. Okay? And you have to see this. And you have to see it through the history. His story. It's all laid out right in front of you. It's not a lie. Slavery is not a lie. Every species in existence has been enslaved at one point or another. Slavery is a construct of the great dragon. It is a construct. It is a matrix system without mercy, without hope, without charity, without love. And it is kept in place through force, through violence, through bullying, through lies, and through fear. And it must be broken down. It must be reversed. And the way to reverse that is to add the divine feminine back into the picture. Bring her essence, her energy, her wisdom back to the table. That does not say get rid of all the male logic. That is to say they need to unite. And the next age, the next earth phase needs to be the child of both. And it needs to be agreed upon. Consciously, unconsciously, and subconsciously. And through that arises new images, new imaginations, new reworkings from the old. You'll be able to see different ways and angles and degrees and gain discernment of things that you was right in front of your face the whole time and you never saw it until, oh, Eureka! That is revelation, beloveds. That is spiritual revelation. And each of us is capable of receiving that kind of revelation within our intuitive, instinctual, spiritual conscious awareness, but not our personalities. Because our personalities, oh, I know what I know, and I'm right. So and so and so say it. Well, I know what I did, and what happened to me was my judgment, my opinion, my, me, I. Doesn't leave any room for the divine. You're full of yourself. You're smelling yourself. And you're faking the funk. Okay? Wisdom has its own fragrance. It don't smell like that. Okay. Meaning, Earth is a feminine principled, conscious state of existence, meaning she will shed as many Earths by cosmic cycles, seasons, and life it takes to overcome death, which was introduced to the genetic blueprint by the serpent seeds, freed, released into the gene pool. That only could happen with Adam and Eve being thrown out of the garden. In the garden, they were protected. They were protected, okay? You have to understand that some say that the snake impregnated Eve with Cain. Cain was the firstborn. So you have to understand that these things happen. They are documented in the Bible. They are documented across the ages. We have so many myths and story and lore of gods and goddesses and demigods and baby gods and different percentages of bloodlines being influenced and many different types of hybridization and the hybridizations that took and the hybridizations that did not take, meaning that the being became monsters or out and outright demonic demons. Okay? That is where those stories come from. They are based upon truth. They are based upon spirit beings mating with the daughters of men, with human women, and with animals, beloveds. Okay? And even genetically with plants. This is what the great serpent has been doing with his short time that is soon to be over. So, the last thing I wanted to talk about here, all based on the lower receptivity and conductibility of the Holy Spirit, which amplifies the spiritual heart and expanding spiritual conscious awareness within it. So, when you allow all these different types of hybrid beings access to your energy. You lower the receptibility and conductibility of the Holy Spirit within you. Thus, you make yourself vulnerable. You open yourself to being prey for them to feast and feed upon and to use and abuse. Okay? So when you see these beings going out of their minds, when you see them lost to their addictions, when you see them just attached to certain ways, understand that something has them. They are possessed with something. They have a connection with something in their unconscious, conscious, and subconscious that is preying upon them. Okay? And so understand that. And so we got into what is the system. We got into that. The system is the worldly world. It is everything that has been manifested to keep the matrix in place, to hold space for the matrix, to take the place of the spiritual womb, the spiritual woman. Okay? It is a false storehouse. Okay, the next thing I wanted to get into is what is buck breaking? And I went and found the etymology in Wikipedia. Okay, I found the definition of buck is a derogatory United States sense of a black man, plus breaking, as in breaking a horse. So a buck, as in a young black man, like a horse is a colt or an unbroken horse, untrained, undomesticated. And buck breaking is an offensive term. The alleged act of publicly punishing a male slave, typically by first flogging him and subsequently sexually assaulting or raping him in front of other slaves in order to humiliate him. And that is taken from the 21st century. Now, beloveds, I want you to think of that word and that definition, okay? And I want you to put it with what you see going on the world stage, what you see going on at the award shows, what you see with the dresses, what you see with the trends in the music, how satanic it has gotten, how sexually satanic it has gotten, how these beings these human beings who we have watched, many of them since being children or teenagers, growing in front of our eyes in a system, indoctrinated into this system, sold into this man's world system of entertainment, prostituting themselves. Okay? And what we see is them just acting. And what we see is not the whole story of their existence. Okay? When Prince wrote the word slave on his face, he was saying he was not free. He was not free to do. He didn't have autonomy. He didn't have control over his creative works, which he called his children. So I want you to understand the parents that give over their autonomy and their creative control of their children to these systems. And these systems systematically put them in this false light, gaslights them, trots them around, okay? Calls this fame and fortune, and this is how you get your wealth. But you must go behind the scenes and you must be molested. You must have your sovereignty removed from you in the most humiliating ways possible, in front of your peers and with your peers and by your peers, so that you're all in the same boat. And then if you systematically do that, you can systematically rise through the ranks and the hierarchies, and you can be appointed gatekeepers of certain angles, certain degrees, certain portals, doorways of the system itself and its architecture and foundation and all of that. You have deeper access. But you have to give away more of your autonomy, even more. And you have to endure even more torturous, sadistic stuff. And now not only do you have to endure it yourself, but now you must inflict it upon others. And by now, your innocence and your compassion has been stripped from you. It has been removed. It has been torn out of you. Your spirit to say no, to change your mind, to say, I don't like that. I don't want that. I've had enough. It's gone. And fear is used to keep you in place. Fear of them sacrificing your family members, your friends, your children, not just your career. Whatever is most dear to you. Whatever you are still attached to personally. No matter how hidden it is in your subconscious or your unconscious, it is known to them. And they use that against you. And we have been seeing and listening to these, like I said, these now adult beings, these adult human beings who have endured systematic torture, systematic sadistic humiliations, systematic deviancy, sexual deviancy, systematic organizations of crime and criminal acts, forced to participate, forced to be part of, forced to glorify, forced to gaslight, forced to highlight, forced to sing about, forced to perform, forced to sell, to make for the masters. who walk you like a little dog. And when you disappoint them, or when you don't do what they say, they have enough evidence. This is the Diddy and the Donald stuff. They have enough evidence to break you down. And depending on the strength of the organizations and the systems in place in the organizations, that's how safe you are. That's how protected you are. But if you go against too many, then they dogpile on you. And you're dog meat. That's it. Doesn't matter if you were a gatekeeper. It doesn't matter how high you thought you were. You will be exposed to the public. And the public will only see you. The public is not going to see the system that supports you. It's not going to see the Wizard of Oz. It's not going to see the man behind the curtain. No. It's only going to see the puppet. The one whose strings was being pulled. The one who was groomed since infancy for that spot, for that role, for that position, to bend over, to give it over. I looked at something came up in my awareness of all of this, and the word Diddy means to get, to take. Get it, take it, take it. And that just blew my mind, how this man put that in the record, knowing that that's what it meant, Diddy meant. And the public was ignorant. And they just swallowed it down whole. And then it got too much for him and he wanted to change his name. It brought too much guilt and shame to him. So then he wants to be loved. He don't want to be get it, take it no more. He wants to be loved now. The Donald and the Diddy connection came up with Danity Kane. Okay? I know everybody is focused on Cassie, but the downfall of Diddy, the tracks, the dots lead back to Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. was in love with, what's her name? Aubrey O'Day from the group Danity Kane. And Aubrey O'Day has been this child that was fed to the system a long time ago. And she's been passed through, just like Aaliyah, just like so many of them. Just like we hear these different stories of these stars, the things that they have, and then we learn that they're prostituting themselves to get them. And we think they're making all this money at their concerts and this and that, and this is how they're getting their money. No, they're getting their money through prostituting themselves and through prostituting others. Bringing other souls into the system. Bringing pure souls into the system. Bringing innocence into the system. Look at how many of them are bringing children into their lifestyles to follow their shoes. That means they have been indoctrinated. They have been educated of, how did Usher say? He had to go to Puffy Flavor camp. His mama sent him. And he was 15, and he was told to learn what the industry is all about. Wasn't, oh boy, you got talent. Let me put you to singing and put you in Disney and this and this. And, oh no, you got real star potential. Let me sing you to Diddy, okay? So you can be broken in. You can be buck broken. Nothing new under the sun. You know where else buck broken took place? Greco-Roman military. Nothing new under the sun, beloveds. You got to look at who is in charge of this matrix system, what their proclivities are, what their preferences are, what their pretenses are, what their lies are, what their goals are, who their enemies are, who sees them and who doesn't have a clue. That calls for observation. That calls for you to be a non-judgmental witness. It calls for you to see the dragon eating its own tail. It calls for you to be conscious of what's going on, what you're seeing in real time. These things that are playing out are linked back to very ancient gods and goddesses, through the fraternities, through the sororities, through the secret societies, through the building makers and what's the guilds? The word guilds, Guilds, is coming up. Through the guilds. Meaning there's a blueprint. Meaning there's a pattern. And if that is the truth, then it can be undone. And it is undone through mama. Through mama cleaning house. Through mama getting control back of her throne and over her children. Back into every being's intuition and instinct, and understanding how divine that is and how unique that makes you as a being, how spiritual that makes you, how it enables your instincts and intuition allow you to receive and to discern wisdom, spiritual wisdom, and how to apply it, and how to create it, and how to expand it, and how to plant it and grow it, how to cook it and feed from it, how to heal from it, how to feast and party off of it, in communion with each other, in unconditional love. No resentment, no anger, no hate, no fear. Full-on trust. Why? Because I see you. You see me. There's nothing hidden. I'm transparent. I'm not trying to get something from you. I'm not trying to take something from you. Whatever I need, I can manifest in abundance. I just have to learn how. And the way I do that is by paying attention, is observing, and by continuing to empty myself of myself. And so what helps me to do that is the examples of other selves that are on the public stage, that are around me, that I sense, that I see, that I know, unconsciously, consciously, and subconsciously, and that I interact with. So, $6 million woman values. Why? Because all is one, and it will work itself out by design, not logic, not time, but original design, intent, instinct, and intuition. And that is going to do it, beloveds. Why am I being told? Okay, let me see. Hold on for 1 minute. Okay. You know I have to pull a card, beloveds. The card that came through is the Hanged Man in the regular tarot deck. It is number 12. And in the Medicine Woman deck, it is called Vision. And this will be the final word on today's topic. How deep is that? 12, vision. Number and meaning, 12, complete immersion. Traditional name, the Hangman. Medicine Woman energy, the vision quest fulfilled. Affirmation, I surrender to the greater good. The Great Spirit and I are one. The beauty I see, I will bring through me. The card speaks, receiving the vision of that which is to be my purpose and my work on the earth. I am able to surrender to the greater good. I give up my life of thinking that I am a separate ego that must maintain myself at the expense of others. I am within others. Others are within me. I no longer care so much whether I am understood by others. But whether I understand them. My ego needs align with the great plan. My wants are in harmony with the human longing for perfection. Creating my own small spot of paradise on earth adds to the great creation. There is no longer a conflict. I serve myself and others at the same time. Aho, mama. This is a good card, beloveds. Thank you, Spirit. My face is without pain, though others would have thought that to sacrifice the ego, consciousness of separateness, would be to suffer. Instead, my aura glows. There is no strain in this reversal of thinking. I hang from the tree of life, still growing. The horizontal plane of the cross symbolizes my work on the earth. The vertical plane is my alignment with God. I now look at life from a different perspective than ever before. I am able to see things from another's point of view. I am able to look with the eyes of God. My individuality is simply a tool, a point of focus for the universal will to good. Life as I once knew it has been turned upside down. The good of the whole is my highest goal. I have looked deep within the waters of consciousness and have been transformed. Self-questioning. As I look at the day that just passed, did I consider the good of my whole self in my decisions? The good of my whole environment? The good of the whole group? The good of my whole community? Or only the good of one small aspect of myself? Exercise. Sit across from a partner, someone you would like to be close to. Relax and look deeply into the other's eyes while the eyes remain still. These eyes. These eyes comes from the Cloudy Khan picture artwork that he did, and some different pictures of myself, and the colors and the energies were just there, and every circle was and is an eye, and those are these eyes. And then the song, these eyes. And it's just been this, beloveds. It's just been this. And here we are. Here we are. Full circle. I tell you, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Exercise. Sit across from a partner, someone you would like to be close to. Relax and look deeply into the other's eyes while the eyes remain still, neither blinking nor moving from side to side. In a few moments, close them. Then imagine yourself going inside the other person's body. Become the person. Look out the other person's eyes, seeing yourself. Now think of yourself as that partner you are within right now. How does he or she see you? How does she or he see the world? What does it feel like to be in that body? What does she or he need from you? What are her or his hopes or fears? Now come back into your own body, still with eyes closed. Allow the deeper essence of that person to flow towards you by making a connection of light with your heart, throat, and third eye to a point between the two of you. Just be there, receiving. Begin to open to the godness. Within it feels right. When it feels right, draw all of your energy gently back into yourself. Feel your own godness. Follow the flow. Now, beloveds, I want to bring this back again to topic with Diddy and Donald. I want us as compassionate beings, as empathic, compassionate beings, caring beings, nice beings, to be able to put ourselves into the body, the physical consciousness. That's what I mean by body. The physical consciousness, the emotional consciousness, the spiritual consciousness. Okay? Of Donald Trump and Diddy. And in doing that, instead of just focusing on them as individuals, I want you to understand from a systematic point of view how many Donalds and Diddys there has been since Adam and Eve, since the great dragon started this system of things. And I want you to expand your own spiritual consciousness, your own subconscious, on this exercise of putting yourself in another's place and not making it a personal judgment, but from an observation of looking at the entire system of things, the entire matrix of things, the entire nature of the forces that drive this planet in this current moment, in our current states of unconscious awareness, of waking up slowly. Okay? Okay. Meditation. Go to your highest space of meditation. From this peak, look down upon the world. What do you see needing to be done? This is your work. Visualization. See yourself as a channel of heavenly gifts. For a time, you hold the gifts, adding your individual energy to them. Then, one by one, you pass them on to others. See the effects of your giving to others. Aho, mama. Astrological sign, Neptune. Surrender. To become the vision received from the great being, you must surrender to your greater self. You must take the leap of faith, letting go of things of which you were formerly dependent. You have formerly depended. This may include an old self-image, self-doubt, or embarrassment at who you really are. In order for Diddy and Donald to let go, to surrender, they have to forgive themselves. They have to confess. They have to admit. Then they have to repent. Repenting is the letting go of, beloveds. That's what that means. That you are no longer attached to that. You're no longer addicted to it. You no longer need it. You're no longer dependent upon it. You can let that go for something higher. And that what is higher is yourself. It is not something outside of yourself. That you actually have the greatest value if you were to compare. You must dive into the unknown. The person who goes into the wilderness on vision quest leaves behind the comforts of her former home. She often refrains from eating or sleeping and sees no other humans or the things of humans. She is left to view that which comes from within. This inner space reveals itself in outer reality. The inner being becomes the world. Often at first, a level of fears is manifest. The ego, which I like to call the personality self, lets you know just what would devour it. It is up to you to let it be devoured. In the process, you will come to realize that it is you, the greater self, who devours it. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Fear not. The vision, Hanged Man card, is different from the Cedar Fool, in that the fool steps blindly forward on a hunch or a feeling. And didn't we just do the Fool card, beloveds? The vision, Hanged Man card, is different from the Seed or Fool, in that the fool steps blindly forward on a hunch or a feeling, often not realizing that she is leaving behind Whereas the hanged man questing for a vision purposely lets go of the known for what she sees ahead as her destiny. Didn't I keep putting up that Isis card of destiny, divine destiny? Y'all, sometimes I'm telling you this, it just is, y'all. It is what it is. It is what it is. And it ain't nothing to be played with, okay? It's serious. It's very serious. The vision hanged man card, I gotta read it again, y'all. The vision hangman card is different from the seed or fool in that the fool steps blindly forward on a hunch or a feeling, often not realizing that she is leaving behind what she is leaving behind. Whereas the hangman questing for vision purposely lets go of the known for what she sees ahead as her destiny. Can you imagine that far? Can you see that far? Can you envision your highest, most unconditional loved self beyond a system, beyond a systematic force trying to break you down? Can you envision that? The fool might ask you every day to step forward, take a risk, plant a seed. The vision card is just to remind you of the one turnabout that must occur. Turnabout tilling. Your life at some point must be given to the ultimate being conscious bliss. That's that super consciousness that resides beyond the mind and its busyness. Your daily actions may continue, but the quest is no longer for direct results from those actions. You are simply allowing a greater force to work through you, as it surely will when you have surrendered. It is a force that was always within you, but hidden by the personality's gold. The personality remains, but it is now doing God's work rather than its own. Vision asks you not to give up you, but to become more than you, the one self that animates all life. You can seek vision and prepare for vision, but you cannot force it to come. It is a gift. When you receive it, it will turn your life upside down. That is the tilling. As if diving from a cliff for the first time, you cannot know what complete immersion, there we go with that word again, complete immersion is like until you are fully in the water, till you are fully conscious of the subconscious and the unconscious. That's the super consciousness, till you are fully immersed. Only then can you swim. Only then can you act in accordance with the new element that surrounds you. Surrender is not death, but action within a new environment of higher consciousness. It is not giving up the personality of self to another human's will. This is very important distinction. The meaning of the vision card is an inner experience of God as complete motivation of the self. The Holy Spirit, unconditional love, the union, the divine union, the super consciousness being the child, the Christed consciousness. This is a very important distinction. The meaning of the vision card is an inner experience of God as complete motivation of the self. How many people are you hearing call themselves God now? Regardless of what you think about it, do you understand the motivation that is in effect right now? The energy, the essence that is circulating, that is contracting, that is coming at us in the solar flares and the solar eclipses and the lunar phases, the changing of the tides, the changing of the guards, the guardians, the magnetic field itself being turned upon its head. The personality will still function quite strongly, able to stand up for itself in the world, perhaps even more than ever before. The vision is the prime mover, an energy source that will prompt all future actions and guide your way for the rest of your life. The vision card will come up again and again, only for you to further fine-tune your carrying out of the original vision given to you by the Great Spirit. It will not change your basic vision. This card focuses your life within God's perfect plan. Pay attention to what you know you are on earth to do. The opposite of narcissist. This is the right vision. This is the hangman vision. The vision of the higher self, the water being the consciousness, states. And you see the circling, the poolings, the ripples, the spiral. Very powerful. And the fact that it's a young female on her knees. And we're talking about Puffy and Donald. And buck breaking. And this is the opposite of buck breaking. Buck breaking and the hanged man. The opposite of lynching. The polar opposites. There's a lot here. 2:33:20. There's a lot here. 2 hours, 33 minutes. Oh yeah, that's a lot. But, beloveds, this has been welling up for days now. Okay, I have been holding space for this for a while. And it is released today. So enjoy, beloveds. Enjoy what is prepared on this Memorial Day. And think of those that died, those that gave their life for the land, those whose blood the land holds and speaks, the stones, the dirt, the rocks, the plants, the trees, the animals, we the people who partake of the animals and the plants. Understand and understand, all is one. Okay, beloveds, that is going to do it. I am Mother with Wisdom. Please subscribe. Please write for notifications. Um, please leave comments. If there's anything you would like to know or you would like for me to speak upon, leave it in the comment section. And I'll check it out. I am being drawn into be more hands-on. So we will see, because before, when I thought I was ready to be more hands-on, the powers that be said, no, you got to go through these tests, these dark nights of the soul. You got to be purified. You got to immerse yourself in the vision waters first and be able to come back up and learn how to float on them and not sink yourself every time, okay? And so that's what's been going on. I've been learning to float, which means I've been learning to stay calm in my presence. And in the absence of my presence. And I'm learning how to master that. And it feels good. It feels good, and it feels good to share that, because that is, why am I seeing Aretha Franklin's face? That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay. That threw me. Namaste, beloveds. Be loved and be blessed. Okay, and I've got to see what this Aretha thing is. Okay. Now I know it's about to get deep. Like a bridge over troubled waters. I will lay thee down. Woo! Okay, mama. All right, that's it, beloveds.